A woman with no friends is a woman who is not afraid to face herself and become the strongest version of who she was meant to be. No one else can complete you. You are already complete, and it's time to realize the greatness that has always been within you. In this video, we're going to talk about how being on your own can actually be a powerful moment in your life. I'll show you why you don't need to measure your value by the friendships you have. You'll see how focusing on your own growth, learning to enjoy your own company, and becoming comfortable being alone can help you grow into the person you were always meant to be. You don't have to depend on others for approval or happiness. If you've ever felt like you're missing out or that your life isn't as meaningful because you don't have a group of friends, I want you to know that this can be the time when you actually grow the most. This video is going to challenge the idea that we need a lot of people around us to feel fulfilled. Instead, I'll show you how to embrace who you are right now and take control of your own journey. Stay with me through this. By the end of it, you'll see things in a new way. You'll understand how not having friends doesn't make you any less of a person. It makes you someone with the potential to become even stronger, more self-aware, and more in control of your own life. Let's dive in together. Number 1. The power of standing alone. Life has a way of testing people, and one of the hardest tests is learning how to stand alone. Maybe you're in a place right now where you feel like you have no friends. You look around and you don't see anyone who truly understands you. Maybe you've been left out, pushed aside, ignored, and it hurts. I know it does, because as human beings, we all want to belong. We all want to feel valued. We want people around us who genuinely care. But what happens when that's not the case? What happens when you find yourself alone? I want you to hear me loud and clear. Standing alone is not a weakness. It is one of the greatest strengths you can ever develop. The ability to be okay on your own, to move forward without relying on constant validation, is something most people never master. They spend their lives chasing approval, trying to fit in, bending themselves to be accepted. But not you. You have a different path. If you're alone right now, it's not the end of the world. In fact, it might be the best thing that ever happened to you. Because when you're alone, you have the opportunity to build something most people never do: inner strength. You learn how to think for yourself. You learn how to rely on your own judgment instead of being influenced by the crowd. And that kind of independence, that kind of self-sufficiency, it's rare. Now let's talk about why some women end up without friends. Some of you don't have friends because you refuse to play the games that others do. You don't gossip. You don't fake smiles. You don't betray your own values just to fit in. And because of that, people don't know what to do with you. They don't understand you. They see you as different. And instead of trying to get to know you, they exclude you. Others of you have tried to form friendships, but ended up disappointed. You gave your loyalty to the wrong people. You trusted too soon. And when they turned on you, you learned a painful lesson. Just because you're good to people doesn't mean they'll be good to you. So now you're careful. You're guarded. You're hesitant to open up again. And I don't blame you. Some of you are just wired differently. You're not interested in meaningless conversations. You don't want surface-level friendships. You want something real. And if you can't find it, you'd rather be alone. And let me tell you, that is okay. That is more than okay. Most people fear being alone. They rush into the wrong company just to avoid it. They force themselves to laugh at jokes they don't find funny. They tolerate disrespect just to feel included. They sacrifice their own peace just to have people around them. But not you. You're different. You've chosen to stand on your own. And that is a decision that will make you stronger than most. You see, when you stand alone, you get something that most people never experience: freedom. You have the freedom to think for yourself. You're not influenced by people who don't share your vision. You have the freedom to grow. You're not wasting time trying to impress others. You have the freedom to choose. You don't have to settle for toxic friendships. You can wait for the right people to come into your life. But here's the truth. Being alone is not always easy. There will be days when it feels heavy. Nights when you wish you had someone to talk to. Moments when you wonder if something is wrong with you. But I need you to understand that these moments are where your strength is built. When nobody checks on you, do you still push yourself forward? When you feel invisible, do you still work on your goals? When nobody claps for you, do you still keep winning? Because these are the questions that define you. These are the moments that determine whether you rise or stay stuck. When you learn to stand alone, you become unstoppable. Because if you can survive the hardest days alone, nothing can break you when success comes. I won't sit here and tell you that loneliness isn't painful. It is. Sometimes it hits you out of nowhere. You see people laughing together, making plans, sharing moments, and for a second you wonder why that's not you. You start to question yourself. Am I too different? Am I too serious? Am I not good enough? And in those moments, it's easy to sink into self-doubt. But listen to me, this is where most people give up. They let the loneliness consume them. They start thinking they need to change, that they need to become someone else just to be accepted. And that's the biggest mistake they could ever make. Because the truth is, loneliness isn't a punishment. It's a lesson. It's an opportunity. An opportunity to focus on yourself, to grow, to build something that most people never take the time to build. A strong foundation. Instead of letting the loneliness break you, use it. Use it to work on your goals. Use it to sharpen your mind. Use it to become the kind of woman who doesn't need anyone to feel complete. Don't waste this time feeling sorry for yourself. Use it to make yourself better. Now, does this mean you'll always be alone? No, but something amazing happens when you stand alone long enough. You start attracting the right people. People who see your strength. People who respect your value. People who don't want to change you, but want to grow with you. And you won't have many of them, but that's okay. Because it's not about numbers, it's about quality. It's about having the right people. Even if it's just one or two, rather than 100, who don't truly care about you. So if you're a woman with no friends today, don't see it as a curse, see it as an opportunity. An opportunity to become the strongest version of yourself. An opportunity to grow without distractions. An opportunity to build a life that attracts the right kind of people. And when the time comes, when you've built yourself in silence, when you've proven to yourself that you don't need anyone to survive, that's when you'll find the people who truly deserve to be in your life. Number 2, how to overcome social anxiety and insecurity. I meet a lot of people who struggle with social anxiety and insecurity. They walk into a room and immediately feel like they don't belong. They hesitate before speaking because they're afraid of saying the wrong thing. They overthink every interaction, wondering if they were awkward or if people secretly don't like them. And for a lot of women, this feeling of discomfort, of being unsure, can become so overwhelming that they start avoiding social situations altogether. If that sounds like you, I want you to hear me out. There is nothing wrong with you. You are not broken. You are not incapable of connecting with others. And you are certainly not destined to feel this way forever. Social anxiety and insecurity are challenges, yes, but they are not permanent. They are habits of thought, patterns of behavior that have developed over time. And just as they were created, they can also be changed. Most of the time, these struggles don't start overnight. They build up slowly. Maybe as a child you were shy, and instead of being encouraged, you were labeled as quiet or antisocial. Maybe you had experiences where you felt rejected or embarrassed, and those moments left a lasting mark. Maybe you grew up in an environment where you didn't feel fully accepted, and now that feeling follows you into every new situation. Whatever the reason, here's the truth. Your past does not have to dictate your future. It does not matter if you've always been this way. It does not matter if you've struggled with social situations for years. What matters is whether you're willing to take control of it now. One of the biggest mistakes people make is thinking that confidence is something you either have or don't have. That some people are just naturally social, naturally good at making friends, and others are destined to struggle. That's not true. Confidence is a skill. It is something you build, just like any other ability. And the more you practice, the better you get. I know that sounds simple, but I also know that when you're struggling with insecurity, the idea of practicing social situations can feel terrifying. So let's break it down in a way that makes sense. First, you need to recognize the lies your mind is telling you. Social anxiety is fueled by negative thoughts. Thoughts like people are judging me. I'm going to embarrass myself.
They don't actually like me. I don't know what to say. These thoughts feel real in the moment, but they are just assumptions. And the problem is, when you believe these assumptions, they control your behavior. You become quiet, withdrawn, hesitant, and the more you act that way, the more your brain believes the assumptions were correct. So how do you break that cycle? You challenge the thoughts. The next time you walk into a room and feel like everyone is judging you, stop and ask yourself, where's the proof? Not just how you feel, but actual proof. Most of the time, you'll realize that there is none. People are too busy worrying about themselves to be analyzing you. And that brings me to another important point. People are not thinking about you as much as you think they are. I know that sounds harsh, but it's actually freeing. Everyone is caught up in their own thoughts, their own insecurities, their own worries. Most of the time, they're not even paying attention to the things you're stressing about. So why let fear hold you back? Now here's where the real work comes in. If you want to overcome social anxiety, you have to take action. You cannot think your way into confidence. You have to do, and that means starting small. Instead of avoiding social situations, put yourself in them little by little. If talking to a group feels overwhelming, start with one-on-one conversations. If approaching new people is scary, start by making small talk in low-pressure situations, at the store, with a coworker, with someone standing in line next to you. The more you do it, the less intimidating it becomes. And don't wait until you feel confident to start. Confidence doesn't come first. Action comes first. Confidence follows. You don't become a good runner by waiting until you feel like a good runner. You start running, and over time you get better. It's the same with social confidence. Now let's talk about insecurity, because that's often the root of social anxiety. At the heart of it, insecurity is the belief that you're not enough, that you're not interesting enough, attractive enough, funny enough, valuable enough. And that belief makes you shrink yourself. It makes you hold back, thinking that if you were just better, then people would like you more. But let me ask you something. Who gets to decide what enough looks like? Where did you get the idea that you're not enough, as you are? Because I can promise you, it didn't come from you. It came from comparison. It came from unrealistic standards. It came from years of being told, directly or indirectly, that who you are isn't good enough. But here's what I need you to understand. Your worth does not come from how many friends you have. It does not come from how popular you are. It does not come from how socially skilled you are. Your worth is not something that can be measured by other people's opinions. You are enough as you are, whether 10 people like you or not at all. The key to overcoming insecurity is to stop waiting for the world to tell you that you're valuable. Stop looking for proof outside of you. Decide that you are enough, because you say so. And when you start to truly believe that, everything changes. You will walk into a room differently. You will speak differently. You will carry yourself with a quiet confidence that doesn't need validation. And the best part, people will notice. Because confidence is magnetic. When you believe in yourself, others start to believe in you too. But this isn't just about attracting people. It's about freedom. The freedom to walk into any room without fear. The freedom to express yourself without second guessing. The freedom to live your life without constantly wondering what others think. That is what's waiting for you on the other side of social anxiety and
insecurity. And I'm not saying the fear will disappear overnight. It won't. There will be moments when you still feel uncomfortable. There will be days when doubt creeps back in. But the difference is, you won't let it control you anymore. You won't let it stop you from living your life. Because now you know that fear is just a feeling. And feelings do not have to dictate your actions. So from this day forward, I want you to stop identifying yourself as someone who is just shy or just socially anxious. Stop labeling yourself as someone who just isn't good at talking to people. That's not who you are. That's just a pattern you've been following. And patterns can be changed. You are capable of confidence. You are capable of connection. You are capable of walking into any room and knowing that you belong there.
And the only thing standing between you and that reality is action.
Number 3, focusing on growth instead of friendships. There comes a time in life when you have to make a choice. You can spend your days worrying about friendships, about who likes you, who includes you, who validates you, or you can shift your focus to something much more important: growth, improvement, becoming the kind of person who doesn't need to chase acceptance because they are too busy building something valuable. Now, I know how hard it can be to feel alone. I know what it's like to want people around you, to want support, to want connection. That's natural, that's human. But let me tell you something. There is nothing more powerful than a person who has learned to focus on their own growth instead of chasing relationships that don't serve them. Because the truth is, when you are focused on leveling up, you won't have time to worry about whether you fit into a certain crowd. You won't have time to waste on friendships that aren't helping you move forward. Most people go through life desperate to be liked. They shape themselves based on what they think others want. They follow trends, they laugh at jokes they don't find funny. They agree with things they don't believe in. All because they don't want to be left out. And what happens? They wake up one day and realize they don't even recognize themselves. They have spent so much time trying to fit in that they never took the time to figure out who they actually are. But you have a different opportunity. If you feel like you have no friends right now, I want you to stop seeing that as a disadvantage. I want you to see it as freedom. Freedom to grow, to evolve, to become exactly who you are meant to be without the noise of outside opinion. Because let me tell you, the wrong friendships will hold you back more than being alone ever will. Think about it. When you're surrounded by people who don't share your vision, what happens? They distract you. They slow you down. They convince you to settle. They make you feel like your dreams are too big. Your standards are too high. Your ambition is too much. And slowly, without even realizing it, you start shrinking yourself to fit in. But when you focus on growth instead of friendships, everything changes. You start putting your energy into learning, into improving, into becoming the best version of yourself. Instead of worrying about who's calling you, who's inviting you out, who's including you, you start asking yourself better questions. How can I develop my skills? How can I take care of my body and mind? How can I build something meaningful for my future? And let me tell you what happens when you do this. As you grow, as you level up, the right people will start to notice. Not because you chased them, not because you begged for their attention, but because they will be drawn to the person you have become. You see, the most valuable friendships, the most meaningful connections, are not found by seeking them out. They happen naturally when you are focused on your own path. But that doesn't mean the journey will be easy. There will be times when you feel lonely. There will be moments when you question yourself, when you wonder if you're making the right choice. And during those moments, it will be tempting to go back, to settle, to surround yourself with people just to fill the silence. But don't do it. Stay focused, stay disciplined, because what you are building, your mind, your strength, your future, is worth more than any temporary companionship. When you prioritize growth, you become someone people admire. You become someone people look up to. And not because you tried to impress them, but because you committed to improving yourself every single day. And that, my friend, is how you truly win. Most people don't have the courage to do this. They don't have the discipline to stand alone and work on themselves. But if you can do it, if you can stay committed, if you can push through the moments of doubt, you will come out stronger than you ever imagined. Number 4, success stories of women who walked alone. Women who have built incredible lives, created something meaningful, or changed the world. You'll notice something interesting. Many of them walked alone. Many of them had seasons in their lives when they didn't fit in, when they were misunderstood, when they had to keep pushing forward without the comfort of friendships or support. And yet they didn't let that stop them. They didn't let loneliness become an excuse to quit. Instead, they used it as fuel. A lot of people think that success comes from having the right connections, from always being surrounded by the right people. And yes, relationships can be valuable. But what most don't realize is that the strongest, most powerful women in history didn't start out with a crowd behind them. They started out alone, with nothing but a vision, discipline, and an unshakable belief in themselves. Think about someone like Oprah Winfrey. She grew up in hardship. She faced rejection, doubt, and moments when no one believed in her. She wasn't always surrounded by friends who encouraged her. In fact, many times she was the only one who saw her own potential.
And yet she kept moving forward. She worked harder, learned more, and kept showing up, even when no one was clapping for her. And look at her now. Or take J.K. Rowling. Before she became the famous author of Harry Potter, she was struggling. She was broke, a single mother, rejected by publishers over and over. She wasn't out at social gatherings, making small talk, trying to be liked. No, she was alone, focused on her craft, writing when no one was watching. And because of that discipline, because of that dedication, the world eventually had no choice but to recognize her. Serena Williams, one of the greatest athletes of all time, spent her early years training while others were hanging out, having fun, doing what everyone else was doing. She didn't have the luxury of wasting time on meaningless friendships or shallow conversations. She had a goal, and she dedicated herself to it. And because of that, she became unstoppable. What do all these women have in common? They didn't wait for approval. They didn't wait for support. They didn't sit around hoping for the right friendships to push them forward. They walked alone. And in doing so, they built a life so strong that eventually the right people came to them. Now I know what you might be thinking. That's them. That's not me. I don't have their strength. But let me tell you something. Strength isn't something you're born with. It's something you build. Every single one of those women had moments of doubt. They had moments when they wanted to quit. They had moments when they wished they had someone to lean on. But instead of letting that break them, they kept going. And that's what you have to do. Right now you might feel alone. You might feel like you don't have the support system you wish you had. But let me ask you something. What if this season of your life is preparing you for something bigger? What if the reason you're walking alone right now is because you are meant to grow stronger, to learn, to develop into the kind of woman who doesn't need external validation? See, most people don't make it because they can't handle loneliness. They can't handle the silence. They can't handle those nights when no one is checking in on them, when they don't have plans, when they feel like they're missing out. And because of that, they settle. They surround themselves with the wrong people just to fill the emptiness. And in doing so, they slow themselves down. But you have an opportunity. You have a chance to use this time wisely. Instead of spending it wishing you had more friends, use it to build something. Work on your skills. Learn something new. Take care of your health. Get your finances in order. Read, grow, improve. Because here's the truth. When you become someone of value, the right people will find you. You don't have to chase friendships. You don't have to beg to be included. You don't have to shrink yourself to fit into spaces that were never meant for you. You just have to focus on becoming the best version of yourself. And when you do that, the right people will recognize it. They will be drawn to you, not because you were trying to impress them, but because your growth, your discipline, your strength will be impossible to ignore. Look around at the people you admire. Look at the women who inspire you. Do you think they spent their time worrying about who liked them? Do you think they paused their dreams because they were afraid of being alone? No, they kept going. They kept working. And eventually the world took notice.
Number 5. Finding meaning in life beyond friendships. There's a moment in life when you realize that friendships don't define you. The number of people around you, the invitations you receive, the messages on your phone, none of that determines your value. What matters is something much deeper. What matters is who you are when no one is watching. What matters is the meaning you create in your own life, whether people acknowledge it or not. A lot of people go through life feeling empty because they think that fulfillment comes from relationships. They believe that the more friends they have, the happier they'll be. They believe that loneliness is a sign that something is wrong with them. But let me tell you something. The deepest fulfillment in life does not come from how many friends you have. It comes from purpose. It comes from contribution. It comes from knowing that you are working towards something that matters. Think about it. How many times have you seen someone surrounded by people, always in the center of attention, yet completely lost? How many times have you seen someone with a huge social circle, but no real direction? That's because friendships, while they can be meaningful, do not replace the need for personal growth, for purpose, for something bigger than yourself. If you build your happiness on social validation, you will always feel unstable, because people come and go. Friendships change, but purpose, meaning, that stays with you. So let's talk about this. Let's talk about what life looks like when you stop focusing on friendships and start focusing on what really matters. You wake up in the morning, and instead of checking your phone, instead of wondering who is thinking about you, you ask yourself a different question. What am I building today? What am I working toward? How am I improving? That shift alone will change everything. Because now your days are not spent worrying about social approval. Your days are spent creating something meaningful. When you focus on purpose, you start to develop skills. You start learning things that make you valuable, things that bring you opportunities. Maybe it's a new language. Maybe it's a business. Maybe it's a craft, a talent, a passion that you've ignored for too long. Whatever it is, the more you pour yourself into it, the more fulfillment you will find. And here's the secret. When you are fulfilled, you don't feel lonely. When you are deeply engaged in something that matters to you, you stop needing distractions. Some people go through life waiting for others to make them feel good. They wait for validation. They wait for someone to say, "You're important. You're worth something." But the strongest people, the most successful people, don't wait for that. They create their own value. They build themselves into someone they can be proud of. And when you do that, when you find meaning in your own growth, you will never again feel like you're missing something. There will be moments when you wish you had more companionship. That's natural. We all crave connection. But here's what most people don't understand. Connection is not something you chase. It's something you attract. When you are deeply committed to your growth, when you are living with purpose, the right people will come into your life. And these won't be shallow friendships based on convenience. These will be real, meaningful relationships built on mutual respect. You have to decide what kind of life you want to live. You can be someone who constantly worries about being included, who measures their worth by the number of people around them. Or you can be someone who creates a life so strong, so meaningful, that whether people stay or leave, you are still standing. Look at history. Look at the women who changed the world. Look at the women who built empires, who created art, who led movements. They were not spending their time worrying about social acceptance. They were too busy making an impact. They were too busy mastering their craft. And because of that, the world remembered them. That's what you need to understand. You don't find meaning in life through friendships. You find meaning by becoming someone of value. You find meaning by growing, by improving, by pushing yourself beyond what you thought was possible. And when you do that, loneliness disappears, not because you have more people around you, but because you have something bigger driving you forward. Number 6, why society makes you feel like you need friends. From the time you were a little girl, you were told that friendships were essential, that you needed to fit in, that being liked was important, that having a circle of friends meant you were doing life right. And so you grew up believing that if you ever found yourself alone, it meant something was wrong with you, that if you weren't constantly surrounded by people, you were failing in some way. But let me tell you something. This idea, this belief that you need friends to be complete, is one of the biggest lies society has ever told you. There is nothing wrong with wanting connection. There is nothing wrong with enjoying companionship. But what is dangerous is the idea that your worth is tied to how many people you have around you. What is dangerous is thinking that if you don't have a group of friends, you are somehow lacking, because that belief will make you chase relationships for the wrong reasons. It will make you settle for shallow friendships, just to feel included. It will make you ignore your own needs, just to belong. Look around you. Look at the way people are pressured to be social, to always be available, to always be connected. Social media has made it worse. Now, if you're not constantly posting with friends, if you don't have pictures to prove that you're surrounded by people, you feel like you're missing something. You feel like you're not doing enough. But here's the truth. Real life isn't about proving anything to anyone. Real life isn't about collecting people like trophies. It's about substance. It's about depth. And sometimes the most powerful thing you can do is walk alone. You don't need friends to be successful. You don't need friends to be happy. You need purpose. You need growth. You need a reason to wake up in the morning that is bigger than social validation. Because when you have that, when you are truly invested in your own life, loneliness doesn't control you. You don't feel the need to force connections.
You don't feel empty just because you're spending time alone. Society makes you believe that being alone is a problem, that if you're not constantly surrounded by people, you're not normal. But let me ask you something. Who decides what's normal? Why should you measure your life based on someone else's standards? The people who tell you that you need friends, are they truly happy? Are they truly fulfilled? Or are they just as lost, just as unsure, just as afraid of being alone as everyone else? The strongest women in the world did not spend their time worrying about fitting in. They did not waste their energy trying to be liked. They focused on their goals. They focused on their growth. They built something that mattered. And because of that, they became unstoppable. If you're someone who feels like you don't have the friendships you wish you had, I want you to stop and ask yourself, why does it bother you? Is it because you truly want deep, meaningful connections? Or is it because you've been told that you should have them? Because if it's the second one, then you've been chasing an illusion. You've been letting society dictate what your life should look like, instead of deciding for yourself. It's okay to walk alone. It's okay to go through seasons where you don't have close friendships. Those seasons are when you grow the most. Those seasons are when you learn to rely on yourself. And when you do, you become unshakable. You become someone who doesn't need external validation to feel whole. The reality is, when you focus on your own path, when you truly dedicate yourself to becoming the best version of yourself, the right people will come. Not because you forced it, not because you begged for it, but because your growth, your discipline, your strength will naturally attract those who belong in your life. And when that happens, the connections you form will be real. They will be meaningful. They won't be based on desperation or fear. They will be built on mutual respect, on shared values, on something deeper than just the need to feel included. So stop letting society make you feel like you're missing something. Stop believing the lie that friendships define your worth. You are valuable, whether you have people around you or not. You are capable of building a life that is fulfilling, even if you walk alone. And the moment you truly understand that, the moment you stop chasing approval, is the moment you set yourself free.
Number 7. How to attract the right people without trying. If you want good people in your life, you have to go out and find them. You have to try harder, be more social, put yourself in situations where you can meet the right people. And maybe you've done that. Maybe you've tried to make friends, to fit in, to connect. But no matter how hard you try, it just never seems to work out the way you want it to. Let me tell you something important. Relationships, real relationships, are not something you chase. They are something you attract. And the way you attract them is not by trying harder. It's by becoming a person who naturally draws the right people in. Most people go through life thinking that relationships come first. That if they can just find the right group, the right circle, the right community, then everything will fall into place. But that's backward. The right people don't make you who you are. Who you are attracts the right people. If you want quality relationships, the first step isn't looking for them. The first step is becoming someone who doesn't need them to feel complete. Think about this. What kind of people do you admire? What kind of people do you respect? Is it those who are always desperate to be included, always bending over backward to be liked? Or is it the people who stand firm, who live with confidence, who are so focused on their goals that they don't waste time worrying about who approves of them? The answer is obvious. We admire people who are strong, who are driven, who are independent. So if that's the kind of person you respect, why wouldn't you become that person yourself? The reality is, most people are drawn to confidence. They are drawn to those who have a sense of purpose, who are not waiting for someone else to give them direction. When you become someone who is deeply committed to your growth, when you stop looking for friendships to fill the gaps in your life and start focusing on your own journey, something shifts. You start to carry yourself differently. You start to move through life with a quiet strength that people notice. And without even trying, the right people begin to gravitate toward you. But here's the catch. When you truly embrace this mindset, you stop needing the approval of others. You stop worrying about whether or not people like you. And because of that, you naturally filter out the wrong people. The ones who only wanted to be around you for convenience. The ones who only liked you when you were easy to control. The ones who never respected you in the first place. When you focus on growth instead of friendships, you may find yourself alone for a while. That's the part most people don't want to hear, because it's uncomfortable, it's unfamiliar, but it's necessary. That time alone is when you build yourself into someone unshakable. It's when you develop the skills, the mindset, the resilience that will carry you forward. And when you do that, you don't just attract friends, you attract the right kind of people. People who respect your time, people who add value to your life, people who are drawn to you for who you are, not for what they can get from you. Most people never experience this, because they are too afraid of being alone. They are too afraid of that quiet space where it's just them and their thoughts. So they fill it with noise. They surround themselves with people who don't truly care about them, just to avoid feeling lonely. But that's a mistake, because if you don't take the time to become someone of value, you will always attract relationships that reflect that. Shallow, unstable, meaningless connections that leave you feeling even emptier than before. You have to be willing to stand alone before the right people will find you. You have to be okay with being misunderstood, with being different, with walking a path that most people don't understand. And when you do, something powerful happens. You stop looking for approval. You stop second-guessing yourself. You start living in a way that feels right to you. And when that happens, when you are no longer chasing people, the right ones will come. Not because you went looking for them, but because your strength, your confidence, your focus naturally pulled them in. That's how you attract the right people without trying. That's how you build real, meaningful relationships, by becoming someone who doesn't need them but still welcomes them when they come. Number 8, the difference between being liked and being respected. When it comes to the relationships in your life, there's something powerful you need to understand. There's a huge difference between being liked and being respected. Most people spend a lot of time trying to be liked. They think that if they can just win people's approval, everything will fall into place. They bend themselves out of shape to make sure they're saying the right things, doing the right things, wearing the right clothes. They put themselves last, just to make sure others are happy. But the problem is, being liked doesn't get you anywhere meaningful. Being liked is superficial. It's about what people think of you in the moment, based on what they see on the surface. It's about impressing them for a short time, but it's not about building anything lasting. If all you're focused on is being liked, you will be constantly chasing after the approval of others. You will become so desperate for that external validation that you lose sight of what truly matters. But respect, that's different. Respect is earned. It's built over time, through your actions, your integrity, your ability to stand up for what you believe in. Respect is about showing up consistently, even when no one is watching. It's about being true to yourself, even when it's hard. And the thing is, respect is far more valuable than being liked, because respect comes from substance. When people respect you, it's because they see something in you that they admire. They see your strength, your character, your commitment to your own values. I'm sure you've met people who are liked by everyone, but you can tell, deep down, that something is off. Maybe they've got a lot of people around them, but there's no depth to the relationships. Maybe they're constantly seeking approval, but they never seem satisfied. You can see the emptiness behind the smiles. They might be liked, but they're not respected. On the other hand, think about someone you truly respect. Someone who doesn't care if they fit in. Someone who does the right thing even when it's hard. Someone who stays true to themselves, no matter what the world thinks. That person might not be the most popular, but they command respect. And that respect is earned by staying consistent, by being authentic, by standing tall in the face of challenges. This is the kind of person you want to be. Not someone who is constantly chasing approval, but someone who attracts respect. When you focus on being respected instead of liked, you stop wasting your energy on shallow connections. You stop trying to impress people who don't matter and start building relationships that are grounded in something real. You start showing up as your true self, and that's what makes people respect you. When you're respected, you don't need to explain yourself. You don't have to justify your actions or decisions to anyone. You know what you stand for, and the people who respect you will understand that. They will admire you for the person you are, not for the person you pretend to be. They will see your strength, your courage,
and your integrity, and they will value you for it. And here's the thing, respect attracts more respect. When you earn respect by staying true to yourself, by doing what's right, by staying focused on your goals, you attract people who share those same values. You start surrounding yourself with people who uplift you, who challenge you, who make you better, and these are the kinds of relationships that will last. So stop chasing after likes, stop trying to fit in, stop molding yourself to the expectations of others. Instead, focus on earning respect. Focus on being the kind of person who others look up to. Focus on building a life that's built on integrity, hard work, and purpose. When you do that, you will naturally attract people who respect you, and those relationships will be far more valuable than anything you could ever gain from being liked.
Number 9. How to stay motivated when you feel alone. There are times in life when it feels like the world is telling you to give up. When every challenge, every setback, every disappointment makes it harder to stay motivated. And when you're facing those moments, it's easy to feel like you're alone, like no one understands what you're going through. But here's something I want you to really think about. The world doesn't care how hard it is for you. It doesn't care that you're tired or frustrated. The world doesn't stop just because you're struggling. So you have two options. You can either let that break you, or you can use it to fuel you. The key to overcoming those moments of doubt and fatigue is to push through, even when you feel like you can't go on. And I'm not talking about pretending like everything is fine when it's not. I'm talking about acknowledging the struggle, accepting the difficulty, but still choosing to keep going. It's about recognizing that success, fulfillment, and growth don't come easily. But that's exactly why they're worth fighting for. It's when you push yourself, even when you feel like you can't, that you find out just how strong you really are. You see, motivation doesn't come from some magical source. It doesn't come from waiting for the right moment, the right feeling, the right conditions. Motivation comes from within. It comes from the decision to keep going, even when it feels like it's too hard. And the more you make that decision, the more you'll realize that you can keep going, no matter what. It's not about being perfect or having everything figured out. It's about showing up every day, doing the work, and trusting that the effort you put in will pay off. There's a real power in that. When you push yourself to work, even when you don't feel like it, you begin to prove to yourself that you're capable of more than you think. You start to build resilience, to strengthen your character, and to create momentum in your life. And that momentum will carry you through the tough times. The times when it feels like nothing is working. The times when you just want to quit. Because when you push through those moments, you develop a new level of confidence in yourself. You start to believe that no matter what challenges come your way, you have what it takes to handle them. I want you to really take this in. Motivation is not something you wait for. It's something you create. It's not about hoping that one day you'll feel inspired or excited to do the work. It's about deciding right now that no matter how you feel, you're going to show up. And I promise you, the more you show up, even on the days when it feels like the hardest thing in the world, the more you will start to see results. The more you will start to feel that momentum building. The more you will start to realize that you are stronger than you ever thought possible. Now, I know it's easy to look around and see other people who seem to have it all together. Maybe they make it look easy, like they have endless energy or motivation. But I want you to understand that everyone has their own battles. Everyone has their own struggles. The difference between those who succeed and those who don't isn't how hard they have it. It's what they choose to do with those struggles. People who succeed aren't necessarily the ones who have everything handed to them. They're the ones who decide every single day to push forward. They're the ones who keep working, even when it's difficult, even when they're tired, even when they don't feel like it. And that decision to keep going is what separates them from everyone else. So when you feel like you can't go on, I want you to remember that the only way through it is through it. There's no shortcut, no magic pill, no quick fix. The only way out of the struggle is to keep moving forward, step by step, day by day. It might feel slow, it might feel heavy, but every step you take is a step toward where you want to be. Every time you decide to work, even when you don't feel like it, you're building the kind of life that will pay off in ways you can't even imagine right now. This isn't about being perfect or doing everything right. It's about doing your best, showing up every day, and refusing to quit. It's about becoming the kind of person who doesn't let obstacles stop them. who doesn't let setbacks define them, who doesn't let exhaustion hold them back. Because when you choose to keep going, even when it's hard, that's when you become unstoppable. I'm not saying it's easy. It's not, but I am saying that it's worth it. The struggle you're facing right now, it's temporary. The strength, the character, the momentum you build by pushing through it, that lasts forever. So keep going, keep showing up, keep working, even when you don't feel like it. Because every day you do, you're becoming the person you're meant to be. And that person, she's unstoppable. And nothing can hold her back. Number 10, becoming a woman who doesn't need validation. There's something that I want you to understand, and it's a realization that will change the way you approach life. It's this: you don't need validation from anyone. No one's approval, no one's praise, no one's recognition. If you're relying on others to validate you, you're giving away your power. It's like you're saying, I need you to tell me I'm good enough before I can believe it myself. And the truth is, you don't need that. You don't need anyone's permission to be great. You don't need anyone's approval to walk your own path. Think about it for a moment. How much of your life have you spent trying to fit in, trying to meet other people's expectations, trying to be the version of yourself that you think others want to see? How much energy have you spent looking for approval, trying to prove that you're worthy of success, of happiness, of love? How much time have you wasted on waiting for someone else to tell you it's okay to be yourself? I want you to know that this is your life, your journey, your story, and the only person whose opinion truly matters is yours. When you start to realize this, when you start to let go of the need for validation, that's when you begin to step into your full power. Because when you no longer depend on the approval of others, you begin to make decisions for yourself. You begin to live life on your terms. The key here is confidence. And not the kind of confidence that comes from the outside world. I'm talking about the kind of confidence that comes from within. The confidence that's rooted in knowing who you are, what you stand for, and what you're capable of. It's the kind of confidence that doesn't need anyone else to tell you that you're doing a good job. You already know you are. Now let me tell you something important. There will always be people who try to tear you down. There will always be people who judge you, criticize you, and question your choices. But those people don't get to define who you are. They don't get to decide your worth. Only you can do that. And when you start to take control of your own narrative, when you stop looking to others for validation, you become unstoppable. I want to take a moment to acknowledge that this is not easy. It's not easy to stop seeking approval from others, especially when we've been conditioned to believe that we need it. Society tells us from a young age that we need to fit in, that we need to get the approval of our parents, our teachers, our peers. We're told that success is about being liked, about having people on our side, about getting the applause and admiration of others. But the truth is, none of that matters if you don't believe in yourself first. Think about the most successful people in the world. They didn't get to where they are by waiting for permission. They didn't wait for everyone to approve of their ideas or their decisions. They took risks. They trusted themselves. They believed in their vision, even when others didn't. And that's what you need to do too. It's not about pleasing everyone. It's not about making sure everyone around you is happy with your choices. It's about being true to yourself, regardless of what anyone else thinks. It's about standing firm in your beliefs, following your passion, and doing the work, whether or not anyone is cheering you on. When you start living this way, when you start living for yourself, and not for the approval of others, something incredible happens. You start to feel free, you start to feel powerful, and you start to live the life you were meant to live. You don't need validation from others to be worthy of success. You don't need anyone's permission to go after your dreams. The only thing you need is the belief that you can do it, the confidence to keep moving forward, even when it gets tough. The self-respect to refuse to settle for less than you deserve. When you let go of the need for validation, you stop seeking approval and start creating your own success, based on your own terms. And let me tell you, when you start living this way, when you start showing up as the person you truly are, the world will begin to respond. The people who are meant to be in your life will come into your life. The opportunities that align with your goals will present themselves. The
the support you need will appear. Because when you stop looking for validation from others, you start attracting the right people, the right opportunities, the right circumstances. So stop waiting for permission. Stop waiting for someone else to tell you that you're worthy, that you're enough, that you're doing a good job. You already know the answer to that. You don't need anyone's validation to keep going. You don't need anyone's approval to keep fighting for your dreams. All you need is the belief that you can do it, the determination to keep pushing forward, and the confidence to trust yourself. The world doesn't need another person seeking validation. The world needs you exactly as you are, doing the work you were born to do. Don't let the need for approval hold you back. Don't let other people's opinions stop you from following your dreams. Your path is yours to create. Your future is yours to build. You are worthy. You are capable. And you don't need anyone else to tell you that. When you let go of the need for validation, you unlock a power that is unstoppable. You become a force to be reckoned with. And that's when the world starts to take notice. When you stop looking for approval, you start creating your own success. So go out there and do what you were meant to do, and do it for yourself. Because you don't need anyone's validation. You've already got all the validation you need from within.